Welcome everyone to my look back at IDW Sonic Year 4, and it has been quite a year. Not only has IDW released stuff related to Sonic's 30th anniversary, but it has been planting the seeds for the series' inevitable 50th issue milestone event. You'll see as we dive right in. Also, spoilers for every IDW Sonic issue through 2021, as well as any previews of future issues released at the time of recording. Also, this video, like the previous lookbacks, are companion pieces to my reviews. While I will summarize the plots and share some thoughts here, if you want a deeper breakdown, you should check out my individual reviews. Alright, let's get started. "2021 marked Sonic's 30th anniversary, and Sega celebrated his birthday with a direct called Sonic Central. It showed off various future projects including games, cartoons, and a virtual concert, which by the way was awesome. Check it out if you haven't already. IDW Publishing joined in on the celebration by releasing a special 30th anniversary comic that portrayed the adventures of classic Sonic and his friends. You heard right, classic Sonic. This is the first time IDW Sonic delved into the classic era. Originally there was an 80+ special that came out on June 23rd, 2021, with a free comic book day special that came out later that year. The two have since been combined into a deluxe edition, released on November 10th. Like the IDW Sonic annuals of the past, this special showcases new and/or less recognized talent on these books. But as always, the main story was written by longtime Sonic writer Ian Flynn. And this story, named Seasons of Chaos, is a doozy, clocking in at 60 pages, the same length as 3 regular issues. The plot has Sonic and his friends getting involved in what looks like another Eggman scheme. His robotic minions, Metal Sonic and Metal Knuckles, are gathering Chaos Emeralds, and the always creepy looking Tails doll is on surveillance duty. The Tails doll also serves as Eggman's plushie, by the way. There was also a mercenary team, the Hooligans, going after the emeralds for Eggman and would come into conflict with the heroes. It's only when they catch Eggman, who was chasing down Metal Sonic, that our heroes learn who the real culprit is: the newly resurrected Heavy King. He wanted to use the robot to command his army while he focuses on other stuff. This backfired as Heavy King took full control away from Eggman and kicked him out of his base. He did hire the Hooligans to get the emeralds in an attempt to stop Heavy King, but that ultimately didn't work out. So everyone now has to team up to stop Heavy King from utilizing the Chaos Emeralds for his own purposes. In a way, this story is the classic Sonic's take on Sonic Heroes. Many characters are divided into groups of 3. Those groups would occasionally fight one another. There's the aforementioned Eggman being replaced by one of his advanced robots, though again he was only kicked out rather than imprisoned. Eggman hired an outside team to help thwart his rebellious robot. And finally, there's the climactic battle with everyone versus that villainous robot. Here's what makes it different than Sonic Heroes. Instead of being partnered with Big the Cat and Cream the Rabbit, Amy would team up with Mighty the Armadillo and Ray the Flying Squirrel. Being set in the classic era allowed these era-specific characters to have prominent roles. Not to mention, this is their IDW comic debut. No offense to Big and Cream, but in my opinion, classic Amy got the better power and flight characters. Speaking of era-specific characters, instead of hiring the modern-era Chaotix Detective Agency, Eggman hired the classic-era mercenary team the Hooligans, aka Fang the Sniper, Bean the Dynamite, and Bark the Polar Bear. If you've read the Archie Sonic comics, their personalities aren't that much different from there. Fang's all about getting the job done, and caring a little bit about his bike. Bean's the ever-crazy bomber, and Bark is the strong silent type, who's also a bit of a softie, especially when it comes to Amy. They are antagonistic to the two heroic teams with regards to the Chaos Emeralds, but once Heavy King gets them all, they're not above teaming up with the heroes. If for no other reason, they want to make sure Eggman pays them. Now for the treacherous robot's plan. Heavy King, like Neo Metal Sonic, wants to take over the world instead of Eggman, and both desire more power to do so. Here's where their methods differ. Neo Metal Sonic wanted the biodata of many powerful beings so he could use them to transform into the ultimate being. Heavy King just wanted the 7 Chaos Emeralds. Simple, but effective. As mentioned earlier, King would use Metal Sonic, funny how he's the subservient one here, and Metal Knuckles to gather those emeralds. He was also monitoring which characters had an emerald or was close to one. This would be a good time to bring up the story's biggest plot hole. Let me explain. Team Sonic and Team Hooligan came to blows over the yellow Chaos Emerald at one point, and after changing hands, the emerald fell down a cliff. Neither group went after it, but it just so happens it fell right into the hands of Team Rose, or Head in Mighty's case. Thanks to a combination of Heavy King's monologue and seeing the metals take the emeralds, he would get 6 of them. The only one not stolen was the yellow one. By the time everyone reaches the final area, Tails' Chaos Radar confirms Heavy King has all 7. When did he or his forces have a chance to snatch it from Team Rose? The only emerald the group lost to Metal Knuckles was the purple one, and that's only because they were fighting the hooligans over it. We never saw Team Rose drop the yellow emerald or make a comment about losing it. So technically at this point, Heavy King should have 6, while the group should have 1. This plot hole was never fixed when the story was re-released in the deluxe edition. I checked. And the sad thing is, the plot hole could have easily been fixed. Team Rose could have lost the emerald during the fight with the hooligans, or it could have been snatched when they've reached Heavy King's lair. Regardless, Heavy King has all the emeralds now, so everyone tries to stop him. Even the metals once Eggman regained control of them. Ultimately, Heavy King is defeated not by a super battle, but by having Sonic do what he does best, running around and taunting the villain. The distraction allowed the other characters to take the Chaos Emeralds, weakening Heavy King enough for Sonic to deliver the finishing blow. After all of that, Eggman decides to take back Heavy King. Granted, Heavy King made the case that he was functioning just as Eggman intended, with the exception of the betrayal. He'll be getting a software patch to prevent it from happening in the future. During this, the heroes have long since departed with the emeralds, and the metals have exhausted their energy, which means Eggman's attempt at backstabbing falls flat. The story ends with Sonic and the group taking a Chaos Emerald and heading off in different directions. Despite the Chaos Emerald plot hole, Seasons of Chaos is a great way to celebrate Sonic's 30th anniversary. The story is simple, but that's the point. Classic Sonic doesn't go too deep, plot-wise, like his modern counterpart. It's just, bad guy's up to no good, let's stop him. Amy does get a lot of focus, which is not a bad thing. She does recruit Mighty and Ray, and held on to Tails' Chaos Radar when he, Sonic, and Knuckles sped off without it. And her. Not to mention, getting praise from Sonic at the end. Don't worry, all the other characters had their moments to shine, either through character interactions or in combat. The story feels like a game in comic format. What helps are these panels establishing each season-based zone, and having the characters briefly interact with the environment and the local badniks before facing off against the area's main threat. It's all thanks to the penciler, line artists, inkers, and colorists. Yes, a number of people worked on the art, but they managed to maintain the visual aesthetic of the classic era. Moving on to the 3 shorter stories, the first one, Sonic Learns to Drive, has, well, Sonic learning to drive a car. There is a reason for this. Sonic wants to participate in a race where the winner gets a lifetime supply of chili dogs. The catch is, the racers must use cars. For his part, Sonic does see the benefits of driving, like not getting tired or listening to the radio. But there are downsides like obeying the rules of the road. This is enforced by Sonic's driving instructor, Kip. After giving Sonic a less than favorable rank, the Hedgehog starts driving properly, slow and safe. This naturally drives him nuts. The story, written by the McElroy brothers and their father, shows why Sonic would use cars in racing games like Sonic Drift and Sonic Team Racing. But it also shows that Sonic is not above authority. Even though he saved the world numerous times from Eggman, he has to obey traffic laws and the rules dictated by the race. No special treatment allowed. Now Kip, being the representative of rules and authority in this story, is not above cutting loose every once in a while. For instance, an Eggman attack postpones the race. Yes, it was planned on the same day as Sonic's driving lesson. You can see how he reacted to the news. Anyway, with Eggman attacking, Sonic was prepared to leave the car and head there on foot. However, Kip wanted Sonic to drive to the fight so he can witness some real speedy action. He is aware of Sonic's reputation after all. Plus, he will allow Sonic to retake the test again in the future. The art, done by Mauro Fonseca and colorist Valentina Pinto, shows that in the classic era, there are also cities full of civilians, though I question some of their road designs. There are also a lot of Easter eggs spread throughout the tale, too many to properly point out in the time allotted. The Sonic Wiki has a list of every one of them if you're curious. The third story, Dr. Eggman's Birthday, has the Doc not looking forward to the titular day. It's because in the past, his robotic minions celebrated the occasion with parties and presents. While not the celebratory type, he does allow his minions to do these activities. He even keeps some of their homemade gifts. He's ready to get it over with this year, but finds his base deserted. He thought they were planning a surprise party. Instead, they're out attempting to get Eggman the best birthday present yet, Sonic the Hedgehog. Eggman had to quickly order his forces to break off the attack and return to base. As Heavy Rider would later explain, they only did it because Eggman deserves something nice for his birthday. This leads to Eggman admitting he sorta cares for his robotic minions, but he's not above replacing them if they attack Sonic without permission again. And the story ends with him accepting another birthday cake. Writer Gail Galligan, artist Thomas Rothlisberger, and colorist Natalie Fordrain brings us a tale from the villain's point of view, to show that it's not always about planning for world domination. In this case, it's more like a manager trying to tolerate his staff at work. Meta-wise, a story like Dr. Eggman's Birthday makes sense because the 30th anniversary of Sonic is also the 30th anniversary of the main villain, and they want to remind you of this. Plus, in its own way, the story is a little heartwarming. The final 30th anniversary story, also done by Galligan, Rothlisberger, and Fordrain, is Amy's new hobby. Tails is visiting Amy's house for lunch, and Amy gets Tails to tell her about a recent adventure with Sonic. Tails gets suspicious when Amy starts writing this stuff down, accusing her of being an Eggman spy. This forces Amy to reveal her secret hobby, creating comics based on past adventures. She kept it a secret because she thought they weren't good. Tails, on the other hand, thinks they're amazing and wants to share them with others. First, it begins with Mighty and Ray, and by the time Sonic passes by Amy's house, a whole crowd has gathered to look at the comics, including Bean and Bark, and Honey the Cat from Sonic the Fighters. Sonic himself takes a look at the comics, and he loves them. This story ends with Sonic telling Amy about the time he confronted Eggman's army on the dog's birthday. This was a good way to cap off the 30th anniversary celebration. A story about Amy being a comic artist. One of the things it addresses is Amy's reluctance to share her work because she doesn't think it's good enough. On the contrary, for someone her age, the art is very good. There is also the fear of her peers not liking her work. Luckily, everyone who saw her work liked it. When you think about it, the situation is also kinda meta. There are Easter eggs aplenty, from a reference to the Sonic OVA, to Amy's house referencing Sonic CD, and having her Sonic Drift vehicle parked outside. Originally, this was the free comic book day story IDW released, but as I mentioned earlier, this joined the other 30th anniversary stories in the deluxe edition. After experiencing the world of classic Sonic, I wouldn't mind seeing future comic stories in this setting, either through a spin-off series, specials, or a mini-series. The stories could be lighter than the main IDW series, and as Sonic Learns to Drive shows, it can also have its own stable of original characters in addition to the era-specific ones. Only time will tell if we'll come back to the classic era. For now, let's see what has happened over in the main IDW continuity. The first arc of the year, Test Run, Evan Stanley's second story arc, begins with Sonic and Tails taking Belle the Tinkerer, the wooden puppet robot they found in an abandoned Eggman base, to Restoration HQ. They hope to use the organization's resources to find Belle's creator, as well as give Belle a job. Notice Belle's look when they brought up the creator. It's as if she knows something. Also note that the backdoor entrance is the same spot as Silver's Victory Garden from the 2019 annual. The story's opening allows the trio, as well as the reader, to catch a glimpse of the new Restoration HQ, which resembles a mall. The ones responsible, Amy and Jewel, show up to greet them. And it's nice that the former is helping the latter assume the leadership role. Jewel has a Restoration member escort Belle to the machine shop so she can get started. The person, if you're wondering, is artist Adam Bryce Thomas's recurring background character, Lanolin, aka Sheep Girl. Jewel takes Sonic, Tails, and Amy to the command center to discuss the developing situation. There's been a series of freaky storms along the coast, and the source appears to be a tower that's giving off some strange energy. Sonic, Tails, and Amy will check it out, especially if Eggman's involved. After arriving and busting down the door, they're immediately sucked through a portal. They wind up in an area with multicolored hallways, and the portal they use to arrive is broken, so they're stuck. Sonic finds an egg pawn laying some chalk against the wall. He quickly destroys it, but the egg pawn is the least of the group's problems. They journey through the multicolored hallways, and it seems they're not making progress. Tails wants to test something, so he marks a spot with the chalk. They loop around the area, and when they return to the starting point, the chalk mark is gone. Somehow, the area is changing as they move. Sonic, holding Tails and Amy's hands, begins running so fast, the room starts fracturing. A combination of Amy's hammer and Sonic's movement allows them to break out, and they wind up in some spatial void. Tails escorts Sonic and Amy through the debris until they reach one with another active portal. This one takes them to a town. A deserted, uncanny town. Orbot and Cubot, who are overseeing the tower, contacts Eggman about the intruders. Instead of getting mad, the Doctor decides to use Sonic's arrival as an opportunity. The Sonic trio explore Creepy Town and decide to enter one of the houses. Instead of people, they find dummies, the kind used for testing. They are not alone as they hear a noise from the upstairs bathroom. Inside the bathtub is a caterpillar, one with spider legs coming out of its mouth. Amy quickly deals with it. More of these freaky mismatched badniks appear and are quickly dealt with. Tails spots even more outside, and everyone quickly barricades the house. That's when Eggman contacts them through various appliances. He explains that Sonic and crew stumbled upon a test site for his technological concepts, specifically the mismatched badniks, and he's excited to test them on some living dummies. So how are these monster badniks made? A slot machine. Yeah, Orbot and Cubot pull the lever, the machine chooses the parts, and bam, freaky badnik. Because Eggman has controlled this place, he sets the house on fire, forcing the heroes to confront the freaky badniks. During this, Tails was trying to lock on to the source of the badniks' transmissions so they can follow it out of there. That plan's thwarted when Eggman turns off the gravity. The only way out now is falling up, and Sonic believes Eggman wouldn't waste his chance to play with his new guinea pigs. He's right because they're being pulled towards a cube forming in the void. When completed, it's a room with a portal on each side. Eggman sends something through one. A variant of the Sonic Adventure boss, the Egg Viper. This one's electric based, so some of Sonic's old tricks won't work. Thankfully, Sonic has backup this time, and they make short work of it. In response, Eggman sends 3 more Viper variants. One based on water, another fire, and the third, wind. It's also revealed that Eggman's controlling them via VR headset from another location. This fight has our heroes on the defensive until they figure out how to manipulate the machine's elemental abilities to their advantage. They then get additional help when Tangle the Lemur literally drops in. If you're wondering, this is not an illusion. This is the real Tangle. To find out where she came from, let's go back to the moment Lanolin takes Belle to the machine shop. Despite the stares and gossip from other Restoration members, the machine shop chief happily takes Belle on board until he sees how much of a klutz she is. It comes to a head when a forklift accidentally pulls on her tail, forcing her to kick a box towards a crane holding a boat. If not for the timely arrival of Tangle, things would have gone badly. She also saves Belle from getting chewed out by the chief. After some bonding over their unique tales, they overhear some people mentioning the freaky storms. Tangle and Belle head over to the command center. Yes, they were present at the meeting about Eggman's tower. Originally, Tangle wanted to go with Team Sonic because it's something exciting, but Jewel wants her to focus on inventory instead. Belle, thinking what she's looking for is at the tower, takes Tangle back to the machine shop. Belle plans to hotwire a Big Bang Extreme gear so the two can head to the tower. During this, Tangle shares that she joined the restoration to support Jewel, but things aren't turning out as she expected. Jewel's always busy, so she doesn't get to see her. Plus, she's having Tangle do mundane work. If Tangle wanted excitement, now's the time as Belle gets the bike working and the two head to the tower. Their arrival wasn't smooth, but they made it. They sneak around the place and even overhear the conversation between Orbot, Cubot, and Eggman. Belle is trying to process the conversation when she slips and falls right in front of some egg pawns. After a brief stare down, the egg pawns go on their merry way. Tangle picks Belle up, and Belle confesses something based on the encounter. She might be a badnik, and that's one of the true reasons she wanted to come to the tower. Tangle doesn't mind. In her eyes, Belle's a good person, or machine, and Sonic and Tails vouch for her. The two will work together to get Belle some answers and help out Team Sonic. Tangle captures Orbot and Cubot, but fails to get any information out of them, at first. When Belle brings up Team Sonic fighting the Viper variants on the screen, Tangle notices the portals in that room. She starts walking towards one of the gates, which gets a reaction out of Orbot and Cubot, more or less confirming this is the right gate. After tethering her tail to a pole and lecturing Belle about what it takes to be a hero, she goes through, and this is where the two plots link up. Eggman contacts Orbot and Cubot about Tangle's arrival and sees Belle instead. He recognizes his own handiwork and remembers her from his time as Mr. Tinker. A delusionary time, according to him. Belle cannot believe the one she's talking to right now was once her benevolent creator. So Eggman displays his massive creative ego by explaining the nature of his tower, a place he has absolute control over, and where he can test how quickly his badnik horde can evolve and destroy towns. Belle, shocked by the answer, abruptly drops and breaks the pad, ending their talk. Things are about to get worse as Orbot and Cubot point out that Tangle's tail, still in the energy field, is causing a feedback loop, and soon the field will expand until it collapses under its own weight and implode. Tangle is able to save the Sonic Trio from the Viper's kamikaze attack, but now they have to hurry out of there. Sonic gets everyone, including Orbot and Cubot, to the tornado, and they fly out just as the tower disappears, with the side effect of frying Eggman's brain. Since the restoration is not in the business of taking prisoners, the group decides to toss Orbot and Cubot off the plane. They welcome this chance for a break and head off to have a nice dip. No, really, they wind up in the water. With that out of the way, Belle confesses to everyone that she was built by Mr. Tinker, and that after he was kidnapped by Rough and Tumble, people started suspecting he was Eggman all this time, but she did not want to believe her father was really a monster and hoped to reason with him. As we saw, that didn't work out. Tangle assures her that if her father was still around, he would be proud that Belle did some good today. And she's right. Tangle and Belle's arrival brought about a chain of events that destroyed Eggman's tower and brought peace back to the area. Test Run is the beginning and or continuation of some character arcs that will come into play in the future. Jewel fully assumes the role as director of the restoration from Amy. Tangle fully becomes a member of the restoration, but finds the experience unfulfilling, and Belle. Poor Belle. She gets her answers, and it wasn't what she was hoping for. Ever since her introduction, many people, myself included, suspect that she was made by Mr. Tinker, aka the amnesic Dr. Eggman. Her outfit and her name Belle the Tinkerer kinda give it away. You have to feel bad for the wooden puppet bot. All she wanted was her father back, only to meet his true self. A robot-building mad scientist with a huge ego bent on world domination, who's also obsessed with a speedy blue hedgehog. There's no reasoning with this guy. Belle doesn't have to worry about being a badnik. There have been a few Eggman-built robots in the past that have turned to the hero side. She's even met two of them. At worst, Belle comes off as a klutz. In a way, being a klutz helped save the day. She convinced Tangle to take her to the tower, which allowed the lemur to get some much-needed excitement. though in doing so, they accidentally caused a chain reaction that destroyed the tower. If they hadn't shown up, who knows what the tower would have done to the outside world. Not to mention, there's the army of mismatched badniks, plus Sonic, Tails, and Amy might have been done for. Eggman wasn't joking when he said he had complete control of the tower's reality. The only reason Sonic and company lasted as long as they did is because 1. They stumbled upon it by accident before being discovered, and 2. After Eggman finds out about the intrusion, decided to use them as guinea pigs. While the tower may have imploded, I wouldn't be surprised if Eggman was able to salvage anything, given that he had access from another location. I do like the concept of the mismatched badniks. They look more terrifying than the standard fare, and hopefully Eggman saves some of that data to be used in the future. Our heroes have defeated Eggman for now, and have earned a little break. However, other villains are about to pay them a visit. Ian Flynn resumes writing duties for the second story arc of the year, Zeti Hunt. From Zavok's point of view, the events of the Bad Guys miniseries just happened. A quick reminder, near the end of that story, Zavok was trying to gain control of a good portion of Eggman's army from an Egg Network hub, only for Eggman to bombard the place with him still inside. Zavok survived thanks to an enhanced power-up, but he was still injured. And now he has to rely on a single badnik to get around as he begins his quest to find the rest of his pack. He has the machine connect to the EggNet's GPS system in order to find all the towns he sent the other Zeti to during the metal virus situation. The first stop is Riverside, Zaz's target. After Zavok gets him in line, they attack the town. Zavok also takes the time to force the local doctor to tend to his injuries. He wonders why the town looked nice, and Zaz explains he did tear up the place with the Zombots, but the restoration came along and fixed it all up. Next, the two visit Vista View, where Zommom was sent. Before their arrival, Zommom was caged up and given small amounts of food. Once the attack begins and Zommom is freed, he goes to town on all those yummy treats. Zavok captures a restoration security guard and forces him to reveal what he knows about the organization. He then does something unpleasant to him. The three continue onward to reunite the crew, only for Master Zik to arrive with Xena and Zor. Earlier, Master Zik witnessed Sonic and Eggman duking it out in Winterburg. The only reason for the attack is Eggman is doing his own Zeti hunt. Hearing Zavok still out there motivated Master Zik to start gathering the others. Now that the Deadly Six have reunited, they discuss their next plan of attack. Ultimately, the subject turns towards the Restoration, how they represent the hope of this world, something that doesn't sit well with the Zeti. Zavok forms a plan, which involves attacking another town that was a previous target, Orchardville in this case. This catches the Restoration's attention, and Jewel brings in the Chaotix to assess the attacks. Since they deduced that they were the places the Zeti were attacking with the Zombots previously, they need to be ready to face them at either Sunset City or Winterburg. The Chaotix will head to the former, and luckily, Sonic's already at the latter. After dealing with Eggman's base in the area, he takes some time to relax while vowing not to let the Deadly Six tear down the world after the Restoration undid the Zombot mess. Jewel gets in touch with Tails, who's working on devices that will neutralize the Zeti. They're based off the Chaos Siphons they used to power themselves up during the Zombot invasion. He's also working on a way to send them back to the Lost Hex. Tails better hurry, because Zavok's plan doesn't involve them going to either Sunset City or Winterburg. The attacks are to misdirect everyone, allowing the Zeti to strike their real target, Restoration HQ. They're disappointed to see that the organization did not live up to their expectations. They were hoping for a strong military force. Instead, it looks like they stumbled upon a shopping mall, and the armed forces are the equivalent of mall cops. Doesn't stop the Zeti from wrecking the place, as they make their way towards the command center. That area's blast doors are sealed shut, and Tangle and Whisper form defensive positions behind it. Jewel sends out an SOS to Sonic, Tails, and the Chaotix. Tails is on his way with his anti-Zeti devices, but it'll take some time. The Chaotix won't even make it due to traffic. Sonic, being Sonic, arrives just as the Zeti punches a hole in the blast door. It may look like a 6-on-1 fight, but thanks to the blast door hole, Tangle and Whisper are able to provide some assistance. That is, until the Zeti take them out. They did succeed in buying the necessary time for Tails to arrive with the anti-Zeti devices. He and Sonic managed to tag them all, ending their threat to the world. Later, they're corralled towards Tails' Sonic 4 Episode 2 rocket, which will send them straight back to the Lost Hex. As Tails explains, upon their return, all devices will self-destruct so the Zeti cannot use them. Zavok mocks Sonic's mercy and vows to repay it tenfold in violence and misery. This reminds Sonic of all the times when granting mercy on his enemies backfired on him. Even with the chance of this act of mercy coming back to bite him one day, Sonic won't change his principles. Zavok, for his part, respects Sonic's conviction. The Zeti are off to the Lost Hex, and after arriving, everything Tails said comes to pass. Zavok sees the situation as a setback, and they vow to return to the main world one day. Zeti Hunt has a secondary plot that starts with Starline infiltrating Restoration HQ at roughly the same time as the Deadly Six. In fact, he encounters Zalmom at the machine shop. He hypnotizes him to go away, saving Bell and the shop chief. That's because he wants Bell for himself. Their brief encounter in White Park intrigued Starline. Now, given the chief's opinion of Bell being a walking disaster, he still tries to defend her. That still doesn't save him from being knocked out by Starline's toxin. It's only when he threatened the chief's life that Bell agreed to go with him, though in sparing the chief's life, everyone would learn of Bell's kidnapping. After the Zeti have been taken care of, they begin searching for her. Starline has taken her to an old warehouse to be studied. He recognizes she was built by Eggman during his Mr. Tinker phase. He then tells her the tale of Eggman's brief stint in Windmill Village and how he restored the Doctor to his old self, with the help of Metal Sonic. This made Bell very angry, and that's what Starline's hoping for, gathering emotional data from her. He then gets her to reveal her backstory. Mr. Tinker built Bell to help him fix and create things for the children. The villagers were wary of her at first, but soon were accepting. Things then went bad when Mr. Tinker was kidnapped, and later Eggman appeared in the face ship to drop a metal virus payload. Bell was spared being transformed, but had to hide lest the Zombots tear her into pieces. After the metal virus was destroyed, the villagers accused her of being an Eggman spy and dismantled everything Mr. Tinker built. She would leave the village for good in order to search for Eggman, hopefully to make him see reason. She would later meet Sonic and Tails in an abandoned Eggman base, and the rest is history. The tale is giving Starline all that complex emotional data that he wants to apply to them right away. We will meet them soon. The Chaotix arrive to free Bell and stop Starline. However, Starline escapes after destroying the computer. He uploaded everything into his personal cloud server before doing so. All the Chaotix can do now is comfort Bell, who once again had her heart broken. Zeti Hunt shows the Deadly Six living up to their name once more. They have terrorized and severely injured many people, and it's implied that they've killed. Not to mention, being a little creepy to boot. When the likes of Eggman wanted to focus on them instead of Sonic, that's serious. It's also interesting to see more of their way of thinking. How things like hope offend creatures known for violence and chaos. Also, the story emphasizes the pack mentality, that without strong leaders like Zavok or Master Zik, the others become pretty pathetic. Though some people find them all pathetic regardless. The action at Restoration HQ was decent enough, and I liked how Tangle and Whisper were able to provide assistance. And I like that Tails was the key to defeating the Zeti this time around. A bit of revenge for what they did to him in Sonic Lost World. Yeah, he was in control then, but he was still humiliated. Ultimately, the goal of the Zeti story is to wrap up the last lingering plot threads from the Metal Virus saga. However, the Zeti plot alone isn't enough to fill out a future 4-issue trade paperback, which I believe is one of the reasons the Starline Bell plot thread was added. It is enjoyable on its own to learn more of Bell's history, but this is the second time in 2 story arcs that the wooden robot suffered a heartbreak. Does Ian Flynn and Evan Stanley enjoy torturing her? To jump ahead a bit, things will start to get better for her. And on the bright side, the Chaotix were able to redeem themselves after being unable to join in on the Zeti fight. Well, sort of. In their defense, Starline had his Tricore, so they would be outmatched regardless. But they saved Belle, and Vector helped comfort her. Anyway, I feel like this subplot could have worked as its own 1 to 2 issue story, with the Zeti portion separated into its own 1 to 2 issue story. The second reason for the subplot is to help set up a major event that's coming to the series. The tail end of 2021 marked the start of a long story arc called The Road to Issue 50. Well, I'm calling it that until someone confirms the official name down the line. The plan for Issue 50 is to have 10 issues that will build up and include the celebratory issue, 6 from the main comic, and 4 from a miniseries. And the main issues would be divided into their own stories, with the first one, Trial by Fire, closing out the year. The Evan Stanley penned story has Amy taking Tangle, Jewel, and Belle on a relaxing camping trip. Given the events of the past 2 arcs, I don't blame them. When they arrive at the campgrounds, they're informed by the park ranger that thanks to the Mel virus, the plants and trees didn't absorb any water throughout the winter, so they've become a fire hazard. They are to only utilize campfires in designated areas. One thing to note, the ranger has a son that has a burst wisp as a playmate. That night, after the girls set up camp, Amy decides to entertain everyone with some fortune telling. Yes, the story dives into one of Amy's lesser-known abilities, tarot card reading. And to jump ahead a bit, all of Amy's predictions for the 3 girls will come true. She starts with Jewel and gives her the Master card, which means strength and leadership, a unifier of chaos. Keep in mind that at this point, Jewel's leadership consists of a lot of paperwork and calling for help when things get rough. The card Amy chooses for Tangle is the Child's Fruit, not Chaos Fruit, Child's Fruit, the balance of opposing sides. This could mean a showdown, a moral dilemma, or even a partnership. Before going on the camping trip, Tangle ran into a departing Whisper. With Mimic on the loose again, Whisper decided to leave for everyone's safety, and all Tangle could do was watch. This is why Tangle's bummed on the camping trip. That and being bored at Restoration HQ. Amy pulls a card for Belle, only to find what she chose shocking. Belle wanted to see it, but in the process, she knocks all the cards off Amy's hands, the chosen card landing in the fire. Belle hands one of the cards to Amy, who lies and says this was the chosen card, the Statue's Savior, which is all about mercy and protection. Little does Amy know, that card will come true for Belle. The girls decide to call it a night, but since Belle doesn't sleep, she goes out for a walk. She investigates a Sonic-shaped bush, along with a nearby noise. No, you're not imagining this. Mr. Tinker has given Belle, a wooden robot, a fire lighter. A motobug emerges from the bushes and knocks Belle offline. However, her lighter is still active. Soon after, a forest fire breaks out in the distance. All the other campers are in a panic, and the park ranger's son is missing. Tangle volunteers to go looking for the boy, while Amy and Jewel help the ranger calm down the campers. That's easier said than done because they demand the ranger open the park gate immediately. Beyond the gate is the only road out of the park, and with a rapidly approaching fire and a lot of panicky people, that's a problem. Amy gets everyone's attention and tells them the best person to solve a disorganized crisis is Jewel, who's not ready to take it to the next level and brings up examples of past incidents she stumbled through. Amy, on the other hand, throws some words of encouragement, saying she's gotten stronger after each encounter and to just do her best. And her best right now is organizing. Jewel comes up with a plan to prioritize getting the elderly and children out of the park first, and having everyone else work to prevent the spread of the fire. Near said fire, 2 shadowy figures watch it from a distance, and not too far from them, Belle reactivates. Her hand with the finger lighter is on fire, but the motobug from earlier puts it out. Tangle runs into Belle, and after being convinced not to destroy the badnik, wraps up her exposed hand. The 2, or rather 3, would go on to search for the ranger's son, who's named Ash if you're curious. They find him and his burst wisp on the other side of a ravine. Team Tail Buddies reach him, thanks to a combination of the motobug giving them a ride, Belle using her pull tail and kick ability to launch them, and Tangle using her tail to pull them the rest of the way. Belle calms Ash down, and the boy reveals who started the fire. 2 individuals. with one of them lighting the spark with her lightning abilities. This pretty much confirms that Belle's lighter and the burst wisp were red herrings. Belle believes Ash, since she more than likely saw the two while reactivating. The group follow the river back to the campgrounds, only for the fire to force them off a cliff and into said river. Thankfully, a large log fell with them, and they ride it down the stream. Belle keeps Ash calm as they go through the rapids. Tangle, however, is enjoying this. She also has an epiphany. She wants excitement, trying new things, and most important of all, being with her BFF Whisper. The two plots converge when they go over a waterfall, near where the campers are using the wire to slow the spread. The ranger thanks Belle for keeping Ash safe, which makes her feel good on the inside. Amy, though, feels horrible and says if the girls just want to help the people get out instead of saving them and the forest, she'll understand. After the experiences they just went through, Jewel, Tangle, and Belle aren't ready to give up. In fact, Jewel has a risky plan that will solve both problems. She has Amy and Tangle dam the river, while she and Belle, riding her Motobug companion, get everyone to the gate. Once the water is full enough, Jewel orders the dam broken, and the resulting flood prevents the fire from spreading further. With the crisis resolved, Tangle bluntly states she's quitting the restoration. Tangle apologizes right away for the act, but Jewel understands the decision. She knew Tangle joined just to support her. They are childhood friends after all, and Jewel has been using her as a crutch. Now that she's become more confident, she's willing to let Tangle go because the inner workings of an organization aren't really for the lemur. They did some further off-panel discussion, and they will try something new. But for now, Tangle will be heading off to find Whisper and accept her offer to be her traveling companion, as seen at the end of their miniseries. After Tails repairs Belle, they want to take a closer look at this Motobug's behavior and see if they can apply its good coding to other badniks. The story ends with the park ranger confirming that the forest fire was deliberate. Trial by Fire is aptly named because it has the characters, the comic originals especially, literally and metaphorically doing a trial by fire. It's also the culmination of the characters' journeys seen throughout the year. Jewel started her career not knowing what to do when Eggman attacked. It took someone else to form a plan to strike back. She seems to operate better with time, preparation, and during a peaceful setting, which might explain the reduced military presence during the Zeti hunt arc. And when they appeared, she was already coordinating with certain individuals that can stop them. In addition, she had two powerful fighters guarding her. In this story, she's dealing with a crisis that requires her to start planning on the spot. And thanks to learning from her past experiences, she was able to form plans that not only saved everyone, but put out the forest fires. Tangle, while going out to save the ranger's son, finally realized that life after restoration is not for her. As stated earlier, she was only there for Jewel, and Jewel kept her around because she was being selfish. She needed that Tangle security blanket, but after the experience with the forest fire, things have changed. Also, seeing Whisper leave no doubt influenced Tangle's decision. She's one of those characters that work better traveling the world and doing things and not being bogged down by an organization. After 2 arcs of dealing with emotional turmoil, it's good to see things turn around for Belle. She helped keep a boy safe from a fire and getting praise for it. A much better reception than, say, being labeled as a freak or a pariah. Granted, the Ranger doesn't know she was built by Tinker/Eggman. Belle also gained some more self-confidence, which is helped by her new Motobug companion. Her riding the machine is probably a nod to Heavy Rider and Jimmy. There's a very, very, very high chance that this Motobug is the same one modified by Mr. Tinker after Dr. Starline put him through his Mind Screw machine, but before Metal Sonic's arrival. There are questions regarding this badnik. Was it programmed by Tinker to find and help Belle? And can Tails and Belle use its coding to change other badniks? This plot thread will be followed up on thanks to the issue 49 solicitation, and they'll be in for a surprise. As for the ones actually responsible for the forest fire, we'll have to turn our attention over to the first issue of the miniseries I spoke of earlier, Imposter Syndrome. It features Dr. Starline finally beginning his ultimate plan, breaking the so-called Sonic cycle, defined as Eggman attacking, Sonic and his friends stopping him, rinse and repeat. The keys to controlling the hero versus villain dynamic are his test tube creations, Surge the Tenric, a female Sonic knockoff with lightning powers, and Kitsunami Kit the Fennec, a Tails knockoff that utilizes water tentacles as extra appendages. Starline's been testing the two in a controlled setting and wants to move on to actual field testing. This is where we first learn that Starline doesn't have complete control over his creations, as Surge wants to move on to the main event now. Luckily for Starline, he made them vulnerable to his Hypno Glove, and uses their disorientated state to get them to agree to the field testing. For the first one, Starline has gotten word that some of Sonic's friends are going camping. Sure would be a shame if they were to accidentally die in a forest fire. That's right, not only does this confirm that Surge and Kit started the fire, it was an attempt to kill Amy's group. They would later learn their attempt failed. Their second field test is to disrupt Central City's traffic without getting caught. And the way Surge is moving, yeah, nobody will catch her in the act. Starline takes the time to visit Tails' lab to sabotage anything he might have on Belle the Tinkerer. However, since the Zombot attack, Tails took the time to reinforce all entryways, so even with his Tricore, Starline cannot get in. Kit, when he and Surge arrive, is unable to budge it, and Starline prevents Surge from breaking in because this is supposed to be a stealth mission. It doesn't matter as they've run out of time and have to bail. Despite the setbacks, Starline wants to move on to his final test, taking over an Eggman base. Surge, once again, wants to go straight to the main event and attack Sonic. When Starline brings up Sonic's friends, she says Kit will handle them. He and Surge start arguing until they realize, why do they want to attack Sonic? They never even met the guy. Starline's forced to initiate another Hypno reset, only Surge is starting to resist it. After Starline manages to knock her out, he realizes maybe he should have studied the coding he stole from Belle further before applying it to Surge and Kit. Well, it's too late now to start over, so Starline will have to navigate the situation carefully. When Surge and Kit come around, he says the two glitched during an argument in which they wanted to do one more field test, and he wanted to go straight to the main mission. With their minds still a little hazy, they bought it. And Starline proceeds to explain how they're going to take over an Eggman base. According to Ian Flynn, who's writing the miniseries, these three were based off glitch characters in the classic 2D games. Surge took inspiration from the Sonic 2 Ashura glitch, Kit took inspiration from the Sonic 3 Blue Knuckles glitch, and we have confirmation that Starline is based on the Wikinda glitch from Knuckles Chaotix. You can even see the inspiration for his name on the Wikinda wiki page. Even though all three are flawed in their own way, and yes, I'm including Starline, the Doctor is determined to carry out his vision for the world with his creations. Surge, being the Sonic knockoff envisioned by Starline, has Sonic speed, the running motion of classic Sonic, and Sonic's attitude, minus the compassion. In a way, Surge is like having Scourge the Hedgehog from the Archie comics back, minus the legal mess. For that extra jolt, Starline equipped her with lightning powers. Funny enough, lightning is Tails' weakness. Well, one of them at least. This brings us to the Tails knockoff. His full name, Kitsunami, is a mashup of the term Kitsume, the multi-tailed fox of Japanese folklore, which is also an inspiration for Tails, and Tsunami, a series of waves caused by the displacement of a large volume of water. This would explain Kit's ability with his water tentacles. Sonic better be careful around this guy. Starline gave Kit a timid personality, along with a sense of loyalty to Surge. And remember, she has the negative aspects of Sonic's personality, so they have a very toxic relationship. Because this video took so long to make, Imposter Syndrome number 2 came out, and needless to say, Starline's plan to take over an Eggman base worked. However, Surge and Kit are planning to go behind his back to learn more about his origins. This is because during a fight with a boss-level robot, Surge survived an attack that should have killed her, making them question their very nature. By the way, Kit shows during that very fight why opponents should beware of the quiet ones. So yeah, these two are very dangerous. Coming up this year, the road to issue 50 continues with the conclusion to the Imposter Syndrome miniseries, along with 3 more issues of the regular series. One issue will be dedicated to the Chaotix investigating the traffic situation caused by Surge and Kit, And the next one will follow up on the Good Badnik subplot Trial by Fire started. Then, it's the big issue itself. There's also a free Comic Book Day special that'll tie into the issue 50 event. It'll be out on May 4th. And finally, there are 2 things coming out that's related to the upcoming sequel to the Sonic the Hedgehog live-action movie. First, there's the book Sonic and Tails Best Buds Forever. It's a compilation of past stories featuring the two together. Since the second movie will have Sonic and Tails meet and form their iconic bond, it makes sense from a marketing point of view. And second, there will be a prequel comic detailing the events between the first and second movie. With all this stuff coming out, I'd say the IDW Sonic comics are doing fine right now. For instance, the ever-popular comic originals Tangle and Whisper have been given official merchandise at the Sega shop. That's saying something. Plus, all that stuff I mentioned earlier is coming out in the first half of the year. What will the rest of 2022 hold? Perhaps Sega will give other comic originals the same treatment as Tangle and Whisper when it comes to merchandise and other media appearances, especially with Surge and Kent being the hot new thing for the moment. We'll find out together. Until then, have a good day everyone.